Back in the day, you and I were talking about how in the 2004 election, for example, we were concerned about how Ken Blackwell shipped the results of the Ohio election off to some other state. You'll have to remind me. Kentucky? Yeah, that's what I thought. Off to Kentucky, and then when they came back, all of a sudden, John Kerry had lost. And I recall in the 2006 election, I used to live in Georgia, and when, I think it was the 2006 election, when Max Cleland was polling...
2002.
2002, thank you. Yeah, because I was living in Atlanta at the time. In the 2002 election, Max Cleland, the war hero, was polling 2 points ahead, and David Perdue, as I recall, was polling 2 points behind. There was a four-point
Chambliss.
spread. Oh, yeah, Saxby-Chambliss. Thank you very much.
Saxby-Chambliss, yeah. That was the Saxby-Chambliss-Cleland swap.
Yeah, and Cleland had left 3 limbs on the ground in Vietnam. He was a genuine war hero, and Chambliss was attacking him as being unpatriotic. And Chambliss won that election by the exact opposite. It was as if somebody had flipped the election upside down. I recall we talked about that. This time around, there's this thing called bullet ballots, and those things had me scratching my head, and I'm still not sure, what's going on here. I'm trying to be skeptical and agnostic about all this stuff.
I've been, and I think that one of the things that, I'm glad that Ziegler's, book was promoted ahead of me. Yeah, I've always said it's like my expertise is in building hardware, and I've built a lot of it, and a lot of it is been used and customized so that it does multiple things, both what the user sees it's doing, and underneath it has other activities going on to back up law enforcement or find money laundering or do audits. So I was explaining to people, computers are, and they're getting denser and denser. So I am going to own that my initial nomenclature of saying it's a bullet ballots or a drop-off vote, I was conflating them. And let me explain what the two things are. And we don't know which it is until the ballots are actually inspected. A bullet ballot is a ballot which actually exists. It's on paper. Hopefully on paper, that only has one selection in one race. So somebody went to the polls, said, I want a ballot. They checked off one box, turned it in, left. It's called a bullet ballot.
Right. And typically, the ones we're talking about here are people who just voted for Trump.
Correct, except that I'm increasingly thinking, in a lot of cases, the bullet ballot isn't there. The hack could have unfolded 2 ways. One, the e-poll books, which are all networked, all online, statewide, and it turns out most of them had very easy access for Mr. Musk because they're also were being backed up across Starlink, have to be checked that a voter went there. Well, okay, there's 2 theories. One, toward the end of the day, they have great voter profiling on everybody. Musk had his lottery and built this list of people who had pledged to vote for Trump. They know who's actually voted because the poll book data is in front of them. So they can very accurately project what the outcome of the state was going to be. Say, we're about 30,000 votes short. Great. So you check the box on 30,000 lottery-pledged Trump voters. And then, provided you have a hack in the tabulator, you add 30,000 votes in the matching precincts of those tabulators. It is a pretty sophisticated attack. And I tell people, they say that sounds, and some people think it's nuts. But I have actually run operations larger than that, where we have infiltrated hundreds of credit card machines on behalf of the company that wants us to do so. The credit card machine is doing its proper job, just like the e-poll book and the tabulator were, but it's also sending out additional data that we are hoping is stolen by gangs, that we are tracking that data to find them. And we've done this in the numbers of hundreds. Right. So here you have a perfectly functional machine that's also doing additional and nefarious activity underneath it.
Yeah. So, I get all that, and
okay.
What you're suggesting essentially is that, there might have been some hanky-panky around this election, that statistically there were more people just voting the bullet ballots, more people just voting for Trump in the swing states than not in the swing states, that there was an anomaly.
By orders of magnitude.
But also, the flip side of that, Stephen, is that these right-wing billionaires dropped, nobody knows the numbers yet, and an awful lot of this is dark money that we'll never know, but several $1 billion into those 7 swing states in massive advertising, which could that not just also easily account for people being motivated to just go in and just check the box for Donald Trump, and that's it?
Fantastic. Then let's hand recount some ballots. We'll find out. And I presented in my letter to Ms. Harris. Look, you take Arizona and Nevada, both of which have these extraordinary numbers of just Trump votes, 5.5% of his total, close to 7% of his total in one state. Right across the border from those states in Utah, Oregon, Idaho, who have the same media markets, you're bounding those states. The averages are 1/5 of 1%, 1/10 of 1%, which is the normal thing you see in a presidential election. So the media market, why is it so much different the moment you cross the border? And by the way, Kadu to Utah, I've never seen that complete. The state of Utah, less than 1/100th of 1% of Utah voters do not fill out their whole ballot.
Wow. Well, Utah has, it's so Mormon.
Utah,
they have this tradition.
Voters.
Yeah, they have a real tradition of social engagement.
They're dedicated voters, and I respect that.
Yeah, me too. And it's promoted by the Mormon Church there. But so what you're saying is that in specifically in those 2 states, in Arizona and what was the other one? Nevada. We saw 5 and 7% of the ballots were people who only voted for Trump.
That is what the numbers are showing us, and all I got to do is actually do a hand recount, and great. I've said, prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. It's so easy to do.
Yeah. So, yeah. It's hard to argue with that. Now on the other hand, Donald Trump and his buddies yelling for 4 years now that the 2020 election was stolen from him, have really tarnished the reputation of anybody who dares suggest that there might be something wrong with our election systems.
I get it, and you and I know. I am the one that came forward with Saxby Chambliss versus Max Cleland, and people screamed to me, "How dare you question our elections?" And then eventually we got the actual code that was inserted leaked, and then I've ever told you this, but Max Cleland eventually took me to lunch around 2007 and 2008 and apologized. He should have taken it more seriously.
Wow.
And John Kerry laughed at me in 2004. And honestly, and this is the thing, Tom, you said 2008. 2008, I didn't see anything wrong. I didn't see anything wrong in 12. I didn't see anything wrong in 16. I didn't see anything wrong in 2020. I thought Donald Trump legitimately won 2016, or at least was close. Sure, there was Russian propaganda and psychological hacking, but I didn't see anything at the electronic level that I said, that's a problem.
Right.
This is the first time that in a long time that I look at the numbers and go, okay, these numbers are bonkers. And what set me off on the thing was, I actually live in Center County, Pennsylvania, and we were one of the places that received one of these bomb threats. And I'm like, okay, in the world of cyber security, and network security especially, if people are going to do an intrusion, they generally have it planned in advance, they have their stuff put in advance, but fairly often they'll throw a distraction in to make you look at something else.
Right.
When this wave of bomb threats came in that were being attributed to Russia, I looked at them, and this was my thought. I said, holy smoke, these are targeting tabulation and ballot collection areas that they want to break the custody chain so you can't do a recount.
Oh, interesting. Stephen, I only have a minute 50 seconds here before we hit a break I can't control.
Go ahead, Tom.
What can people do about this? How can they educate themselves?
Someone's got to get – here's the thing. It's scale – our legal system requires an aggrieved party who's been harmed.
Right.
If there's going to be a hand recount at scale, the only person in America who can request it is Kamala Harris.
Huh.
We have groups organizing in 3 states, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Michigan, where their voters can request at the precinct level, say, I don't trust my precinct, I'd like it recounted. Mm-hmm. But the BOEs don't have to do those recounts before they actually certify the election. They have to provide that data, but they can finish their work, certify the election, then go back and give them the exact details on the presumption, in their view, that it won't change the election. The only person at this point who can actually look at this and see if it changed the election is her.
So how do we lobby her to get to do this recount?
I sent a duty to warn letter. I've spoken to half a dozen people that claim to be close to her. Last night I was told by a lawyer that he doesn't think she's actually read it. I'm like, I don't know. I mailed it, per the address to where her office is.
Well,
somebody's got to tell her.
Any kind of letter going to anybody in D.C. has to go through the anthrax scan, which takes about
Correct.
3 weeks.
Yeah, it does.
So odds are she hasn't even gotten the letter. Is there a website that you would direct people to who want more information, Stephen Spoonamore?
I actually really like Lulu Freestat's group. I think you've talked to her before at smartelections.us. Incredibly capable people, and they've been helping organize a number of data scientists and lawyers associated with the 3 efforts where there will be a few precinct-level recounts, and they have some great data.
Smartelections.us.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Stephen Spoonamore. Stephen, it's always a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much for the
Tom.
great work you're doing.
Keep up your great work. Thank you.
Back at you. We'll be back. Thank you, Stephen. I'll be back with the rest of you here in just a minute with more of the news of the day and your calls. Stay tuned.